Is it possible that our worship before Yahweh could actually be dangerous? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10 Minute Torah, day number 4 of Torah portion Shemini, the word meaning the 8th. So let's go today to that tragic chapter of Leviticus or Vayikra, chapter number 10, and let's begin reading with verse number 1. And Nadav and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his fire holder and put fire in it and put incense on it and brought strange fire before Yahweh, which he had not commanded them. Fire came out before Yahweh and consumed them, and they died before Yahweh. And Moshe said to Aaron, "This is what Yahweh spoke, saying, by those who come near me, let me be set apart, and before all the people let me be esteemed or honored or glorified." And Aaron was silent. He was not even allowed to mourn. So what happened? Why did these two men die? Rabbinical commentaries offer several explanations, all which seem to have some validity. Briefly, I'll share that the word strange is often emphasized, that the fire that they offered was strange fire. That is, that the coals that the incense was placed upon did not come from the altar of sacrifice, but rather a common fire, perhaps a campfire in the camp. When they would have gone and gotten those coals, or how they would have entered into the set-apart area, really, I don't see that. I don't understand how that could be. Although the word strange here is where we get the idea of profane, that which is not belonging to us. The word gives the idea that one is traveling and they venture off the road to stay in an inn. The inn is not their home. It doesn't belong to them. You are at a place that doesn't belong to you. You are offering then fire to Yah that doesn't belong to him. You can also go so far as talking about an adulterous fire. That is, you are relating somehow with a spouse that does not belong to you. So it is a profane fire. What made it profane? The coals, the incense, or the fact that Yah says, I didn't command this, and it's strange before me because you violated a boundary that I have set up. I didn't ask for this presentation of worship or exhilarating ecstasy moment worship. It's not what I'm asking for. Other commentators, talk about the fact that later in the chapter, the admonition and warning is given, do not be intoxicated in his presence. Do not drink wine to come and serve in the tabernacle complex. So is the warning given because Nadav and Abihu were drunk? 9 a.m. in the morning, when the time of the morning sacrifice is being offered, should have been the time that this procedure was done. So it's a little early in the day to be drunk already. It's not saying they weren't. It's just unlikely. But what these two things say to us is that Yah is not receptive of worship that is based on thrills. His presence is not about goosebumps and hair standing up on end. It's not about falling down on the floor and vibrating and shaking all over the place, neither rolling on the floor with uncontrollable laughter, all of which been connected somehow to his presence in the past. Not condemning any of those things. I'm just saying that's not the desire of his presence. That's not what his presence is about. Is that crossing a boundary? That's another teaching, another exploration for later on. But it's something to consider. So why did they die? Why did fire come out from the presence of Yah and consume these men? Why did they die? After all, what they were doing was an act of worship, where they just caught up in the moment, the ecstasy of the offerings have been made, and fire comes out from the presence of Yah and consumes it, and the people are falling on their face and they're glorifying and worshiping Yah. And in steps these two men in a moment of exhilarating worship. That quick they're gone. What happened? To understand this, maybe we need to go back a little further, perhaps all the way back to the beginning. Let's go all the way back to creation. When Yah made mankind, when he created Adam, he created Adam by forming a mud shell, a pile of dust. I used the idea of mud, the water would have helped hold it together. But he formed the physicality of man, but man was not alive. A wonderfully designed human being, but it is the breath of Yah, the impartation of his ruach, his spirit, into man, that then called man to become turned on. The button was pushed. The chest cavity inhaled, exhaled. Things moved. His eyes opened. That which is alive and is your inner being is what causes your flesh to do what it does. When the spirit of Yah that he gave to us, when life leaves the body is no longer necessary, and so it passes away. Man in his initial created state was designed to receive knowledge and instruction from Yah, his word, through his spirit, not his flesh. So the understanding then is that when man fell in the garden through sin, he did so by being deceived into reasoning with his fleshly mind how to receive truth. The command was, do not partake of this tree. But he reasoned that the tree offered to him what was knowledgeably perfected, or a higher level. And so he received that. When he did, his spirit was tainted, no longer receiving from his spirit the word of Elohim. Now he's receiving it by flesh, reason, calculation, self-determining what is right and wrong. And now we are going by mechanics and instinct as to how to serve the Most High. Knowledge and wisdom received through the flesh can never equal, surpass, or compare to receiving that which Yah gives to us through his spirit. When we're born again, when we accept Messiah and we're redeemed, our neshama, the inner part of us, is awakened to spiritually receive again the word of Elohim through our spirit and not our flesh. Merely reading the words on the page of Scripture and trying to physically in our flesh reason it out leads to false doctrine, leads to error, leads to incomplete responses of obedience, leads to justification of self, picking and choosing what commands that we would prefer to keep, instead of hearing it in our spirit and fully accepting it, receiving the revelation of Yeshua in it, acknowledging our need to walk in obedience to him. Excuse me. So we come before him and worship. If we do this with mere knowledge, if we're counting on our title and the study of our books and the wisdom that we've accumulated to know how to worship him and how to preach and to teach and to lead worship, then we're only operating in the instinctive fleshly nature, and it's incomplete, and Yah does not receive that. So I know how to mechanically play an instrument. I know how to sing a song. I know how to engage a congregation. I can conduct a worship session. I know how to put together notes and speak them out of my mouth, and I can get engaged in that and get emotional about that. I can therefore, quote unquote, preach or teach the word. But if it's not by the Spirit, Yah is looking for those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. If it's not by the Spirit, then it's not anointed. It's not going to break the yoke. It's not going to set people free. And is Yah even accepting of it? Be careful of the strange fire. Let's worship him in the spirit and not in the flesh. I'll see you again tomorrow, and until then, shalom.